Hello, fourth graders. Chapter 15, Lesson 2. How does force affect moving objects? Objects do not just move on their own. Something must make a ball start to roll. Something must allow a rolling ball to stop. Force. A force is any push or pull. Force can make an object that is standing still start to move. It can also make a moving object move faster, slow down, stop, or change direction. The object moves in the same direction as the force. Some forces act only on contact. These forces must touch an object to affect it. A marble on a level surface will not move until you hit it with your finger or another object. Contact force starts the ball rolling. Other forces can act at a distance. These forces can affect objects without touching them. For example, without any contact. A magnet can pull a piece of iron toward it. The magnet has a force that acts on the iron from a distance. Pushing or pulling can change both the position and motion of an object. The size of the change depends on the strength or push or pull. For example, the harder you push a swing, the higher and faster it will move. Also, a strong magnet will pull a piece of iron toward it from farther away than a weak magnet will. The writing in black. A moving marble hits one that is standing still. The contact force of the moving marble starts the other marble moving. A marble that is standing still moves when it is bumped by another marble. With the picture, it says, magnets can make things move without touching them. Magnetism is a force that can act at a distance. Magnetic force has an effect on metals such as iron and steel. Combining forces. All forces have both size and direction. Notice the dogs pulling on the rubber toy. They are combining forces, but they are working against each other. They are pulling in opposite directions, but with the same amount of force. As long as they both pull with the forces that are the same size, the forces are balanced. The toy will not move. But if one dog pulls with more force, the forces will be unbalanced. The toy will move toward the dog with a greater force. The picture to the side. Two train engines pull together in the same direction. They are combining forces and working together. The total force of the engines is equal to the sum of the two forces. The second paragraph under combining forces. Many objects are acted upon by more than one force. Suppose you push on a door to open it. Your friend on the other side of the door also pushes on it with the same size force. But your friend is pushing the door in the opposite direction. The forces are balanced, and the door does not move. But suppose you continue to push the door while your friend pulls it. Now both forces are acting on the door in the same direction. The door moves quickly in your friend's direction. The total force on the door can be found by adding the forces together. Here's the picture of the dogs from the first paragraph. Checkpoint. What causes objects to move or moving objects to stop moving? Sequence. 2. Describe the sequence of events if the dog on the right suddenly stops pulling on the toy. Force and motion. If two dogs tug on a toy with balanced force, the toy will not move. If two or more forces acting on an object in opposite directions are balanced, the forces cancel each other. The object's motion does not change. A still object will not start moving unless the forces acting on it change. The resistance an object has to any change to its motion is called inertia. In the same way, a moving object changes its motion only when a force acts on it. If balanced forces are applied to a moving object, it will keep moving at the same speed and in the same direction. The moving object will not slow, speed up, or turn until the forces acting on it become unbalanced. Next paragraph. The amount of force acting on an object affects how that object changes speed and direction. When you ride a bike, you first start pushing on the pedals. Next, you push harder. The bicycle goes faster. Then you squeeze the brakes. The bicycle slows. You turn the handlebars. The bicycle changes direction. Next paragraph. More force is needed to change the motion of an object with more mass. That's why football players find big players are harder to tackle than smaller players. That's why you can easily move an empty wagon. When your friends climb in, you must pull with more force to move the wagon and its passengers. Force is needed to move the plow. Even more force would be needed to move larger equipment. Friction. You learn that a moving object will not slow until the forces acting on it change. You also know that unless an object is coasting downhill, moving objects do slow down. You know that if you don't pull a wagon, it will eventually slow and stop. Actually, the wagon slows because there is a force acting on it. Friction is a force that acts when two surfaces rub together. Friction can slow or stop moving objects. It can also keep objects from starting to move. The amount of friction between two surfaces depends on each object's surface and its mass. The surface of every object has high and low spots. On a rough surface, you can see and feel the uneven places. When objects with rough surfaces rub, the high spots catch on each other. This causes a lot of friction. On a smooth surface, the uneven places are too tiny to see or feel. When most objects with smooth surfaces rub, there is less friction. The objects move more easily. Under the picture that says superslide, the reading says, the surface of the superslide is very smooth. Going back to the next paragraph. The amount of friction also depends on the weight of the objects that are pressing together. If you push a box of feathers along the floor, it moves easily. What would happen if you fill the same box with books? The weight of the box presses against the floor with more force. This causes more friction, and the box is harder to push. If you can't change the surfaces or the weight of the objects you are trying to move, you can reduce friction in other ways. You can use oil or wax to make the surfaces smoother. Less friction means you need less force to move the object. The writing under the next picture. Ball bearings reduce friction because they roll rather than drag across each other. Oil makes their surfaces smoother. Lesson checkpoint. Number 1, what is friction? Number 2, writing in science. Descriptive. Write a short story in your science journal describing what would happen if suddenly there was no friction.